I'm Pastor Lee, and welcome to Walking Through the Latter Days. And I tell you, this past week has been a rough week for me. I spent 2 days this week trying to deal with a kidney stone, and I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know whether you've ever dealt with a kidney stone before, but in all my years, 56 years living on this earth, that was the most painful 2 or 2.5 days I've ever been through. I thought I was going to die. And I heard years ago people saying that the closest that a man would ever come to experiencing childbirth would be passing a kidney stone. All I can add to that is that I know why God made me a man and not a woman, because there is no way on this earth that I could ever deal with giving birth to a child. And when I think of women who have given multiple births, kudos to them. I mean, they're stronger than I am. That's all I've got to say. But this is Friday, and I got the news headlines for the week, and feeling better. It finally passed through my system late yesterday afternoon. Had a couple kind of sleepless nights, restless days, but I can say that I'm back on the saddle again, and I'm getting ready to start riding. And I do have some news headlines. I don't have quite as many headlines as I do some weeks, but really some of these are very, very important, top of the list. Well, you probably know that Obama signs another executive order. In other words, he bypasses Congress. He uses his own little power. He's on his little power trip. He signs on another Friday afternoon. If you remember New Year's Eve, the NDAA, that was put through without anyone knowing it, and this was done the same way. It was done on a Friday afternoon to the pattern he always does. By the time weekend comes, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But I'm not going to let it get lost in the shuffle. This is the National Defense Resource Preparedness, or the NDRP. And this has been implemented. If we go back to President Bush, he's put some things into place. And each one of these, like the NDAA and this National Defense Resource Preparedness Act, is another level higher, a little closer into total domination of everyone in this country. I mean, the previous ones are bad enough, but each step gets a little worse. And this, without a doubt in my mind, this is will be the fatal blow to this country. That's right. I am stepping out on a limb saying I believe this could be the fatal blow to the United States of America. The America that we grew up to know, I believe, is officially no more. What this means that Obama now takes over all and every resource. And this simply declares peacetime martial law, not wartime. It says wartime and peacetime. And Obama can now, with the power that he has, he can control your food, your water, public water, land, and if you have your own property, if you have a well, getting your own water, which I would much rather have. When I used to live in North Carolina mountains, my wife and I had well water. Man, it was so much better than this public water we get, but they'll confiscate that. Control all transportation, all vehicles, and even transportation by foot. Control where you walk. This here, as I say, I think is the fatal and final blow to this country. This has been implemented, and this is being put into action. This isn't something that they are just planning here like in the last few months. They've been planning this for years now. The Illuminati, the head honchos, the globalists, the elitists. And I'm sure that they've had a target date set for a long time. And I believe that this 2012 could very well be the target date that they've set to have all this start to happen. Now, the Mayan calendar, I don't believe that it's going along with that. I believe that this is the date that these globalists have chosen many, many years ago. And when the Bible speaks of living in perilous times, we are coming into that season right now. We are living in these perilous times. And if people think it's bad now, just wait. You know how the old saying goes, you ain't seen nothing yet. But as I said in the previous weeks, that we can actually get joy from this headline. That's if you are a born-again, Bible-believing Christian, then you know that you are going to be saved from the coming tribulation. That when things get totally chaotic, we will be taken out of this. So the more of this kind of news that we see, which is devastating, the closer we are to going home. I think that's the only way you can look at this. Because if you don't, this sort of stuff, this sort of news here will eat you up alive. It'll bring fear, anxiety, panic, state of confusion, which all fit right in to the tools of Satan. It's exactly where he wants you to be. And God's provided his encouraging words to know that we will not be on this earth facing the coming tribulation period. And moving along, Russian military troops, the Russian Navy, arrive at Syrian Point, or Syrian Port. Syrian Port. Port. Must I keep saying week after week that the prophecy of Isaiah 17:1 is in the process of being fulfilled as I'm speaking? All the pieces are coming together. Used to be a few years ago, I was studying this Bible prophecy, Psalm 83, Isaiah 17, and a lot of the pieces weren't even on the table yet. But now all of those pieces of the puzzle have been put on the table, and now they're actually being locked into place, just like a jigsaw puzzle. And believe me, there are not many more pieces to be put together. We're getting down to that very last piece of the puzzle. Rebels fought gun battles with government forces in Damascus. In the most violent clashes Syria's capital has seen since the start of the year-old revolt against the President al-Assad. And again, the previous news headline speaks of Syria And this one right here, the third news headline, speaks specifically of Damascus, Syria. Well, Isaiah 17:1 speaks specifically about Damascus, Syria, the oldest inhabited city in the entire world, will be destroyed, and it will be destroyed by nuclear, and it will be done overnight. In one night, it will be left in a heap of ruins. It will cease from being a city forevermore. And we are witnessing this very prophecy that was prophesied probably maybe 2,300 years ago or so, a long, long time. And it's our generation. Just think, this is the generation that prophecy was speaking of, maybe some 2,300 or so years ago. And we're blessed. You got to look at it this way, with the mind of a born-again, Bible-believing, ready for rapture Christian. This is how you have to look at it. This is exciting times, because we're ready to see the most miraculous thing ever happen on this earth. The Bible has spoken of like smaller type raptures with Elijah and Enoch. But how about when it lifts a major portion of the population of the earth in the twinkling of an eye? And that's us. I mean, that is definitely worth waiting to see. And I am waiting anxiously to go home. It's being reported that Hezbollah operatives, by the hundreds or maybe even thousands, are in this country. And they've been in this country for several years now. It says that they are well established in their communities. They are established in their jobs, excellent paying jobs, and they're all simply waiting for the word to come from Iran to begin to terrorize large cities throughout the United States. And I believe this other news headline might just tie in with this. NYPD, New York Police Department, says Iran has conducted surveillance in New York City since 2005. That's 7 years ago. At least 13 people tied to Iran's government have been seen taking pictures of different landmarks throughout the city. Now you have to ask yourself this: is this actually terrorism, or is this just another sign of a false flag coming, as we had in the 9/11, where they blamed everything on Afghanistan? Osama bin Laden, the weird guy living in the cave, when we know now, it's no news now that those buildings were brought down from within the government in this country. Is that what's happening here? Are we going to see maybe these suitcase bombs? They're nuclear. Can they go off in cities maybe simultaneously, like New York, Chicago, LA, DC? Quite possible. But the thing is, are these real terrorists, or is it a false flag? Keep watching, and I'll do my best to keep you up to date with whatever information I can pass on to you. I got one last headline, then I'm going to let you go. Effective world government will be needed to stave off climate catastrophe. That's what the headline reads. In order to bring on the one world government. So here they are saying effective world government will be needed to stave off climate catastrophe. Well, actually what they're saying is that they will and they are creating the catastrophe in order to bring on the Bible predicted one world government. Well, I've covered the headlines here. It's Friday here. I'm a little bit tired and a little bit sore from the past 2 or 3 days from finally passing that doggone kidney stone. Hopefully I won't have any more of those things, and make sure I'm drinking the water by the gallons. But I just advise you just keep your eyes open, keep watching the news, the unfiltered news. Go on the internet. Blacklisted News is a good resource. Drudge Report is another one. There are several ones out there. So just make it a daily practice. Stay in God's Word, and at the same time be following the news, and you can follow along parallel. These headlines will go right along with the Bible. I think it'll simply amaze you. Well, I'm Pastor Lee. I'm closing down for this week. You have a great one coming up, and as always, may God bless.